Hello, everyone, and welcome to this really quite amazing event. Look at all these lovely people we've got. 5 guests on. I think it's the biggest guest list we've ever had on any of our webinars, and we're really excited about it. We've got 5 presenters and only 1 hour, so it's going to be a very intense thing. I hope you managed to get the PDFs that we sent you. If you didn't, then you'll just have to play along and see what you can see. We've got 45 slides, 5 presenters. And first of all, we're just going to, maybe I should just introduce everyone. So we've got Katerina. Do you want to give them a wave, Katerina? There we go.
Hi.
We've got Michael, Nick Pohl.
Hello.
Mike Mandel.
Hello.
And Antigone.
Hello.
So there we go. Okay. And here's the program. We're going to just spend 5 minutes just finding a little bit about you and about Mike's going to give us a bit of a background on the summit. And then in this order that you see on the slide, each of these lovely presenters are going to give you a 5-minute introduction to their presentation at the Vienna Summit. So let's have a look at the first poll. Let's find out a little bit about you. We've had a very large sign up. We've had over 560 people sign up for this webinar. So let's just find out how many of you are already going to the summit. I'm going to share this poll with you. So can you just tell us whether you've got your ticket, you're going but not got your ticket yet, or you may go but you're not sure, or sorry, you can't go. So look, there we go. So far we've got 12% saying they've got their tickets. More people are voting, and we've got about a third of people saying that they may go, but they're not sure yet. So hopefully in the next hour, you'll be convinced that you should definitely get out there and get to Vienna and join these amazing people and the other Shiatsu people there. And also just like to find out whether you're a New Energy Work member or not yet. You might be a free member, a professional or premium member, or maybe not any member yet. Let's just find out, just to find out about you as the group. So let's see. Okay, look at that. We've got about 75% are New Energy Work people and about a quarter are not. So that tells us a little bit about the group. So we're going to talk a little bit about New Energy Work right at the end. But first of all, let's go straight in. And Mike, please tell us something a little bit about the history of the Congress.
Thanks a lot, Cliff. Welcome, everyone. So about the Congress history, it's very funny because it's exactly 25 years ago when we did the first Congress in Vienna. It was 1999, the first International Shiatsu Congress. And back then we were heavily into hospital work. We did go with Shiatsu in all those clinics. And then we came to the point where we said, okay, we want to share our experience, we want to share our approach, and also we want to bring together the healthcare staff and the Shiatsu practitioners. So this was the main motivation for this event, and I think it was one of the first congresses ever on the European in Europe, and it went very well. And one of our guests was Wilfried Rappenecker, of course, because he's a Shiatsu practitioner and a medical doctor. And I think we inspired him with our event. So 5 years later, he started his own idea of a congress with the European Shiatsu Congress in the Kindal. 2004, it was the first one. And 2007, the second one. In the second one, I was already involved. And in the third and in the fourth one, I was like a member of the board of advisors for the Congress. Mm-hmm. But after doing it 4 times, Wilfried was a little bit tired with always organizing it. And so we had a long discussion. And so I came up with the idea, why don't we take the Congress and bring it to a larger city? That the Congress needs some fresh, he needs some impulse. And so now we go to the city, because till then the Shiatsu practitioners had to go to the Kintal, to the mountains, which is a very lovely place. I always enjoyed it there a lot. But then maybe we could use the tool of the Congress, and we bring the Congress to the city, where you have a Shiatsu scene, where you have Shiatsu practitioners, where you have Shiatsu schools, where you have Shiatsu clients. So maybe we can make an impact for the Shiatsu scene. We can boost the Shiatsu scene, and maybe we can present Shiatsu to a broader audience. And it was a crazy event.
It was insane, wasn't it? It was crazy. It was like the whole of Vienna was the Shiatsu city. Wherever you went out, you just saw Shiatsu people going like left and right. It was mad. And you have 3 schools as well, so it was like a triangle of energy force. I remember it. It was an amazing event, really amazing.
Yeah, so the idea went very well, and we had one big tent in one of Vienna's busiest shopping streets, where people could get Shiatsu for free. So we got a lot of attention, and also media attention. So the idea worked out very well, to use the Congress as a vehicle to make a boost for the local Shiatsu scene and to get recognition as well. So after Vienna, it traveled on to Amsterdam, which was also a very lovely event. And then we always said, okay, after traveling to the cities, it can go back to the Kintal again, which was last year. The 7th Congress was in the Kintal. Yeah. But when I was in Amsterdam, I just I visited a lot of workshops. I just took time to went around. And Amsterdam triggered some thoughts in my mind, because what is the idea of a Congress? Obviously, a Congress is here to bring people together, to make connections, and also to be inspired by all the Shiatsu practitioners and lecturers. Yeah. But then again, what do you really take home from a Congress? Because honestly, I have to say, after Amsterdam, I was a little bit puzzled. So much, so many information, so many different takes on Shiatsu, so many interpretations. So yes, you always go home with a lot of inspiration, and you go home with a lot of connections. And I think this is very important for you as a Shiatsu practitioner, because usually you work alone in your dojo and treat people. So you need the inspiration, and you need the motivation, and also the connection. But then, do you take home practical skills? Does a Congress really help you to dive deeper into one topic? Do you take home something that really improves your approach to Shiatsu? And I didn't feel that, and I also didn't feel that at the former Congresses. So I thought maybe it's a good time now to rethink the idea of a Congress and bring it all together, to create a platform where people can connect, where they can meet, where they get inspiration, but maybe that they also really take something home to upgrade their practical Shiatsu skills. And this is the basic idea of the summit. So you can see it here. So our vision is that we just choose one very clear topic, and we choose the topic of trauma, because I think it's a very, very important topic. I'm bored that Shiatsu is always this complementary therapy, this alternative therapy, and I'm convinced that Shiatsu has the potential to be #1 therapy in certain areas. It really can be the #1 therapy, but we have to step up for that. And I think trauma would be one of those fields where Shiatsu really can position itself as one of the best therapies available, because we work with the mind and we work with the body. We bring it all together. This is why we choose this topic. So one topic, one focus for 4 days, and just a limited crew of international experts who are all here today. I'm very happy about that. And our idea is that we create a learning field for you, a learning space for you. So we focus for 4 days on this single topic, and we want you to become an expert on your own. So we want you to get deeper energetic understanding. We want to share with you hands-on skills, and also personal growth. Growth is a big topic, of course. So we already had a lot of meetings with all of us, and so we came up with the idea to create some kind of energy field around the topic of shiatsu and trauma. And we want the participants to just dive into this field for 4 days all in, and maybe on Sunday you will go home and have become definitely more experienced in that area. So it's one experience. So even if we do the morning exercises have something to do with this topic. For example, what are the best do-in exercises to release stress, to release trauma? How can I do breathing exercises for myself or to pass them on to the clients? So we start in the morning to create this energy field, and we finish in the evening with that energy field, and it goes 4 days in a row. And each of us will share a different approach to the topic. So a big part of us is to coordinate ourselves. So everyone has a different take. So we want to give you 5 different tools. Just one tool, but 5 different tools. And if you get all those 5 different tools, you can bring them all together. And you will hear it later on in the individual presentations. But this is the main idea for the summit. You need to work with the body. You need to work with the language. You need to create a safe space. What is your role as a practitioner, and what are the energetics behind the trauma? And that's it. One experience for 4 days. You will have courses, exercises, panels, and also the possibility to exchange with the other visitors of the Congress what you have learned.
Fantastic. Absolutely great. And it's totally on topic as well, because when we did some research into the whole trauma thing a little while ago, we found that actually psychotherapy and trauma approaches within psychotherapy are definitely moving towards a somatic-based approach. So yeah, it's really, I think you're right. Shiatsu has a fantastic role to play on that. So I'm just going to have to upgrade our plan, because we've just broke through our ceiling of 150 people. So I'm going to just upgrading the plan right now, and hopefully we can get some more people in. That just shows you how successful and how popular this is. We've actually broken our 150 limit, and I'm just upgrading so we can all get on. So, there we go. Okay, thank you so much for that introduction. And yeah, I have to agree with you. Shiatsu is brilliant for this, and it's so interesting to see all these different approaches. And now we're going to take, and Antigone is going to be center stage, and she's going to spend some time with us just talking about her approach to treating trauma.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Hello, Cliff.
Hello. Yep, we can hear you. Yeah.
There is a slow reception, I think.
Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So hello to everybody. I feel honored that I take part in this big event that is happening the upcoming spring in Vienna. And it is about a subject that I'm really fond of. I really like this subject because I think that, especially after COVID, we all and our societies are experience a collective trauma. So it is more crucial Shiatsu role in this field. I echo what you said, Cliff and Mike, before, that somatic therapies are more and more taking part from, not in contradiction with psychotherapy, but they have a main role, and this is a lot based in the neural response of the body. And in Shiatsu, we work a lot with the nervous system. So anyway, starting from the first slide, because I have to be quick too, I give a small, my idea, my belief also, and my experience is through my 20 years practice so far. And basically in psychosomatic disorders, I have seen that I am called all the time to have and create an inner field, personal development, because the challenges are huge, and daily we come in contact and to relate with our clients with the symptoms that they are happening in mental or somatic field. And these challenges has to do a lot with how I can be attached, or how I can be tired or not tired, the stress that sometimes I take from the sessions, and how I deal with all of that. So we have to have a very basic resource that we can re-regulate our nervous system. I have found that this huge resource, it's very simple. It's the presence that we all developed during our treatments, our practice. But the more present I cultivate, the more present I develop. And this I want to share in this workshop. I want to share my experience and to find our presence through a symbol of Shiatsu self. So I have some techniques from focusing life skill process. So we can share. I would like to have this first part of my workshop for an inner attitude, my personal development as Shiatsu practitioner. So after this, cultivating this presence, I can be resilient in this my psychic immune system would be more and more strong. So this is the first part that I would like to share. And maybe here I would like to have this poll to see how do you feel sufficiently resilient when working with trauma in your Shiatsu practice? And it is yes, no, or hopeless, feeling hopeless.
And there we are. Look, we got quite a good confident group there. 75% are saying that they have sufficient resilience, but you've got quite a large proportion as well.
Great.
Over a quarter saying either no or they feel hopeless. So there's a big, pretty substantial group there that could do with some help from you, Antigone.
Yeah. Okay. So we go on in let's see what is trauma. We go to the next slide. We know from Peter Levine, who has done a very good work worldwide about trauma, is not what happens to us, but what we hold inside in the absence of an empathetic witness. Trauma is something that we cannot cope with it, right? We have to start from a principle. Our system copes with danger, but does not cope with trauma. We could say that trauma is a body's intelligent form that responds to something that is a threatening and overwhelming feeling, but something we don't know how to deal with it. But the thing that happened to us, the bad things that happened to us, is not this that we remember, we keep inside. We keep inside the result, the response of what happened to us, the feelings, the qualities. And we could say that during this trauma, it is a disconnection that is happening between me and myself. And why do I get disconnected? Because it is too painful to be with myself. So when we are traumatized, we are completely feel alone, because we have to deal with this event completely alone. And the thing is that something that is more and more taking main role in, according to the neuroscience research, is that the somatic therapies that have a crucial role, it is based in that, because we work, as in Shiatsu, we work in a non-verbal level. So we work in the responses of the neural forms that are happening between the brain and the nervous system. So different functions, different processes are happening that time that we have to deal. We deal with that, but we don't acknowledge yet. We don't, maybe in Shiatsu, in our Shiatsu practice, we deal with that continuously. The vagus nerve, that is very, according to the Dr. Porgy's research, we deal with the vagus nerve very, all the techniques that we have mainly, but in this workshop, I will want to share this, how and why is happening this, because I believe that the more I understand, the more I acknowledge what is happening with my client, or I can say myself also client, because the first step is to face our trauma as Shiatsu therapists. So to conclude this, it is that we deal with two main opposites, the fear and the inner safety. So safety is based in this social connectedness, providing a neural expectancy that promotes mental and physical health. The experience of feeling safe in the autonomous nervous system keeps the autonomous nervous system out of defense. So we can have, by regulating the autonomous nervous system with some techniques that I would like to share in this workshop, we can have to create a safe place around through special techniques around in the field, in the environment. And let's go further on to the next one as Shiatsu practitioners to see how I can follow this healing process, what I could develop. And I believe that during this summit, we'll reach very main parts, how we follow this healing process and can then combine and synthesize many different or pretty enough simple techniques that will make us effective and following this healing process. The first of all, for me, it is a matter of inner attitude. The more I am not attached with the situations, the more I keep my safety and my safe place is being present through some specific steps, I can deal after with all my techniques as Shiatsu practitioner with everything that I can face from myself and from the client. Because what I create through this safety, I can deal with whatever happens during the session. I can keep the grounding feeling for the client.
And I think
so
that's the special thing,
share,
isn't it? That's the special thing about Shiatsu, is you can transmit that feeling of safety directly through the touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
I say safe hands, safe presence, safe hands.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Yes. And it would be experience. We will explore this safe hands, the first part of the workshop.
Brilliant.
And the last one, to conclude and resume everything, it is again finding this inner safety in this inner landscape by what is it inside, how is this safe place inside of us. We can have a health and growth and restoration. And then the vagal toning, this is something else that we're gonna have about regulating the vagal tone. And after all, through the touch and through the safety, we can bring hope, because hope cannot exist without safety. When I feel fear, I cannot have hope.
No, fantastic. Yeah.
So that's it.
It sounds wonderful.
I'm expecting, I think I am on time, because
You are, yeah. Let's get Mihail up next. If you'd like to come back onto the stage, come onto the stage. Here he comes. So far, so good. Thank you so much, Antigone. It sounds absolutely wonderful. You've got
Thank you
such
too.
quality to you. Just gonna... So there we are.
Well, thank you, everyone. Hi, everyone. Shiatsu brothers all over the world. Thank you, Cliff, for organizing this for us. Thank you, Mike Mandel, for creating another special summit experience. I was there in 2017, and I had the time of my life. Very inspirational. Took Cliff's class and a lot of gold nuggets there. And that's the beauty about some of these congresses, is taking some tools back and gold nuggets that inspire, but also applicable to your practice right away. So maybe we'll start with the poll, Cliff.
Yeah, sure. Let's just run it up and see. There's your introduction. And here's the poll. And this is interesting. You asked them, are you struggling with effects of trauma yourself? So it's more of a reflexive question. So I'll put that straight up. Let's just see what our own personal experience of it is. We may have worked through the traumas, I suppose, in the past, but let's have a look and see. And look at that. That's pretty significant. We've got like 60% coming up as yes, and 16%, 17% saying not sure, and only 29% so far, 30% saying no. And as we were discussing earlier, actually, if you're not sure, it's quite probable that you are actually processing trauma, because that's one of the things, isn't it, about it?
Absolutely. I mean, that's why I asked the question, because my way into Shiatsu was through my own traumas that I experienced, and that's in a way what brought me to Shiatsu. And that's why I always said trauma is necessary. Well, people say, well, how come trauma is necessary? Well, first of all, it's a fact of life. We fortunately or unfortunately, depends on your perspective, we must come to recognize that we're going to experience traumas. From the moment that we come in to the moment that we leave, life is full of traumas, and nobody is immune to it. And that's been my experience. That's been the experience of working with trauma for the last 25 years. I've dedicated my life and my personal journey to it, and it's my purpose, working with trauma. It's something that initially was uncomfortable to do as a young therapist, but when it's your purpose, even when you try to swim away from the path, run away from the path, avoid the path, you're being put always on the path if you want to or don't want to. And the moment that I embraced it is the moment that I realized how many people are afflicted by it, even here in Save Canada. I mean, my parents immigrated to two different countries, running away from communism, running away from wars in the Middle East, coming to Save Canada. And I'm on this journey. And one day I started to look at the stats, because I thought, well, why so many people are coming to me with trauma? Is it me? Is it just because I had to go through my trauma healing? And then when I started to look at the statistics, I was shocked, because here we are in Save Canada, and one of the first things I discovered, that Canada led the world in post-traumatic stress disorder.
Really? Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. And why is that? Is because of the way insular societies work. I mean, insular societies are a breeding ground to post-traumatic stress disorder. Just like the quote from Peter Levine is that the lack of an empathetic witness that Antigone put up,
right,
and the lack of community around trauma, the lack of recognition around trauma, or just the fact of when you're traumatized and you don't want to get out of the house, people calling, knocking on your door, coming to check on you regularly, even when you don't want them to, can help in the recovery. And when you look at places like Africa or the Middle East, where there's a lot of trauma, but there's also a lot of community around trauma, right. So the recovery is that much greater.
Yeah,
sure. Once realizing the statistics here in Canada, I saw the real pandemic or epidemic that trauma is. And in my research and clinical experience, I saw that it's the roots to all the manifestations of any chronic cases that we see, that especially are treatment resistant, traditional treatment resistant.
Yeah.
from autoimmune diseases to diabetes, heart disease, cancers, you name it, Parkinson's, brain injuries, all the chronic cases that you see. And if you really dig deep enough and start to have trauma lenses on, you would see that trauma is at the roots of most of those issues.
Yeah.
That realization prompted me to open an integrative center, because I realized, well, I can't do the work by myself at that time. So I opened an integrative center, and I surrounded myself with naturopathic doctors, psychologists, acupuncturists, TCM doctors, counselors, hypnotherapists, massage therapists, osteopaths, and we really created an innovative body-centric approach to trauma, which also included a lot of education. And I had to run the clinic, and I had to run the programs.
Wow.
So that was my lab for about 10 years of learning how to work with trauma, with wearing different lenses, learning a lot from a naturopathic perspective, counseling perspective, a hypnotherapy perspective, massage therapy perspective.
Yeah.
It was a school on steroids when it came to working with trauma. In my clinical practice, I've now worked with almost 15,000, a little over 15,000 people.
Well, that's incredible.
And I see regularly people every day that are struggling with trauma. I'm known for working with trauma, and I embrace that path. Let's maybe move to the next slide.
Sure.
And back to why trauma is necessary, besides the fact that it's just something that happens to all of us, it's really important to find the meaning and the purpose in your trauma. When you find meaning, and it's very hard to find meaning, when you are in it. But if you have a strong commitment to healing, and you go through what I call your valley of darkness, and especially if you have the right guide beside you and the right support beside you, when you come to the other side from that darkness, you look back, you always see the meaning. You always see the purpose of it. Always. That's been in my own personal journey, and that's been leading many people through that valley of darkness. There's always meaning and purpose on the other side, and that is so vital to continue to live with trauma, because trauma never leaves you. The echoes are always there, but what you can achieve, is growth, resilience, and a toolkit to help you with the volume that trauma creates inside of you.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, when people come to us with trauma, they come usually at what I call the breaking point. Well, what does that mean? How do you know when somebody is breaking down? What's the breaking point? Yeah. It's a state of overwhelm, and oftentimes it's a despair. When I was going through my own trauma journey, I've tried every therapy. Right. And usually when people come to Shiatsu, they've tried every therapy, and then they discover this thing that is called Shiatsu. How many times you heard that? I've tried this, I've tried that, nothing is working, and I'm about to give up because nothing is working. I've spent years and a lot of money, and this pain, this suffering that I'm feeling is not resolved. In the break, there's always a great opportunity, I said. And in a way, that's how I present it always. I always present, well, we have an opportunity here. There's always a struggle between the ego and the self. I mean, we always have that struggle, but especially in the breaking point, because in a sense, intuitively, one feels that a part of them has to die. Yeah. And for another part to come through, most people intuitively know this, and this is the struggle. Between what I call the adaptation, we are masters in adaptation. We can adapt to any trauma, any horrific conditions we can adapt to. And the way we adapt is very sophisticated. So there's always that struggle between the adaptation and the part that wants to self-realize, self-actualize. It's a great opportunity for the Shen, the mind, and the body to reintegrate. Because I often say, nothing is broken. You're just disorganized. Right. And we just got to create some order. We got to create some congruency here. Yeah. And that's what I call congruent authenticity, your authentic self coming through.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's move to the next slide.
So,
When you're working with trauma as a therapist, this is what you must be aware of. First, you must work on your own traumas. And now you don't have to resolve all your traumas to do shiatsu with trauma, but you consciously and actively have to be responsible for your own traumas. And oftentimes what can happen when you really embrace that responsibility, your clients indirectly working with you on their own traumas will help you resolve your traumas. You will get many gifts, many insights, just by having that responsibility and commitment. You have to find a purpose and a calling for it. It's not for everyone. You really have to find a purpose and a calling for it, and then own it. You have to have some trauma informed training. You can't guess.
Yeah.
You can't guess with trauma. You have to educate yourself. And I did. And when I had the center and surrounded myself with all those therapists, I educated myself incredibly. If I didn't get that education, I wouldn't be the therapist that I am right now.
no.
You have to create the space for it, the space inside. It requires a space inside. You cannot bring your stuff into the treatment room. You cannot bring your traumas into the treatment room. You have to learn how to create the space within and to create that space for the other. Your level of care has to be higher. Your attention to detail has to be higher. Your level of care that to show that you care and how you project that has to be high. You must actively, I mean, in Shiatsu we do, but especially working with trauma, you must actively work in developing your senses, your intuition and palpation skills. Sharpen them as much, because there's a lot that is untold. There's a lot that is unseen.
Yeah.
You have to watch yourself. You're not cross-transferring your traumas, your own emotions onto the other. You're not easily triggered, because trauma patients will tend to trigger you. So you got to watch out for that. And this is where self-care and prevention of trauma, fatigue, and Jaiki is really important. It's intense work. It's intense work. So you got to really care for yourself. And working with a lot of organizations and people in the front lines, the number one complaint, number one thing that I constantly see is trauma fatigue. I have counselors, psychotherapists, psychologists that come to me and they just burnt out.
Yeah.
Working with trauma. Okay. As a patient, you must understand that they are just disorganized. Don't look at them as broken or something is wrong. They are just disorganized, and you are there to hopefully help them create some order. They don't trust. You think you're interviewing them, but they're really interviewing you. They just don't have much trust, even though they come to me. Actually, the patient that I'm worried the most about is the one that says, oh, I'm so ready for this. I've been waiting for this for the most of my life. And now that I found you, I'm fully in. I'm fully committed, whatever it takes. That's the one that I don't trust the most. It's just that they lack trust. They don't embody trust. They'll be testing you. They are resistant to change. They have blind spots. They have distorted perception. Some of them are highly aware, but it can come sometimes with numbness too. So there's a lot of contradiction that can happen.
Yeah.
They will self-sabotage all along the way. They will self-sabotage.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into account. Some of them lack hope. Some of them are quite in a helpless state. Some of them are despair. And all of them are highly vigilant.
Yeah.
So that's who you are dealing with when you're dealing with complex trauma and trauma clients. You know, what I would love to present in the Congress is how to work with the protective mechanisms that, you know, the subconscious, creates and the body reacts to. And there's a way of assessing and building boundaries, because most trauma clients don't understand boundaries. They struggle with boundaries. Most people struggle with boundaries, but especially trauma clients.
Mm.
You know, recognizing those protective patterns, the physical, the psychological, the emotional, and energetic, and in a way mapping them out. Even for the client, this is where sometimes I do mirror work. I show them what I'm doing in the mirror even.
Mm.
Why? It's very important that they see their own protective patterns, because once you see, you can't unseen it.
Mm.
You know, you have to embody trust and give them the experience of what that means. You have to disarm those protective mechanisms. This is where Shiatsu sometimes is not enough, because sometimes Shiatsu can be interpreted as invasive,
Mm.
and some clients are not even ready for Shiatsu. So working with so many clients like that, I had to develop techniques initially, especially in the first few sessions, that create the releases in the nervous system more specifically, and it has to be done in a very easy and non-invasive way.
Yeah.
So this is what I usually concentrate on in the first few treatments. I don't even go to Shiatsu yet, per se. I mean, Shiatsu is always the template, but I don't necessarily do Shiatsu. I mean, we do touch work, but we mostly work with the nervous system. And as we work, we tell the client what we're doing. It's very important to get a trauma client and all of our chronic clients to participate and understand what is being done, to get permission for doing it, and especially to do it with ease, because change for trauma clients, especially that are highly vigilant, always seems to be so difficult, so extremely difficult. So if you can give them the experience that change can happen with ease, with very little effort, in a way that's very reassuring to the nervous system and that protective brain that creates all those protective mechanisms. Oftentimes I feel like a thief entering a maximum security prison, trying to, reveal them inside there, and in a way that's what we will be concentrating on in my part of the workshop.
That's absolutely great. Yeah,
let's move to the next slide. That's why, as Mike said, and we've had me and Mike this conversation before, and I love his concept of this Congress. Shiatsu is and should be highlighted all over the world as the #1 therapy. When you put those trauma lenses on, when you're trauma informed, it's, I believe, and in my experience working with so many people, it's one of the best therapies for trauma.
I totally agree with you there.
What I hope to inspire. Yeah.
Fantastic. I totally agree with you. And it's exactly the same thing happened to me. I had my own trauma. I studied it, and it was such a revelation to understanding my own path in life. I think that's the case with all of us who do that. It can be a very, very life enhancing thing, can't it? Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Get Katharina in. Here she is. She's waiting to go on. Thank you so much. Hey.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
So I also say thank you for the possibility to speak today here. And I feel honored and happy to go to Vienna and maybe to see one of you at this webinar also in Vienna. I had a lot of experience with drama and anxiety in the clinics, in the psychiatric clinics I'm working since years. And I realized that after burnout, the second in our clinics is anxiety. So that's also something I will talk a lot about in our summit. Wait, I will just change the slides.
Yeah.
So my big thing at the summit is building hope. And I also have hope that you will understand me, because I can talk there in German. I prefer, and you will have a translation in English, and that's mostly better for me and for you also. But today we are in English, and yeah, what is hypnotherapy? In the hypnotherapy, you are in a deep state of relaxation, and it's also accompanied with heightened concentration and imagination. So through hypnosis, we can gain access to the knowledge of the subconscious. And when you see now there the waves, that are the brain waves, in the Shiatsu, we are mostly in the alpha waves.
Yeah.
And in hypnotherapy, we start with the alpha waves and then join to the theta waves. Some people also can have theta waves in the Shiatsu. It depends on the session. So when I made the hypnotherapy exercises, I realized that when we go first in a Shiatsu treatment, in the beginning, it's an easier way to work than with the theta waves in the hypnotherapy. So on the summit, you will get some ideas or a tool how to work with anxiety, mostly when it's overwhelming, maybe in the treatment, maybe when people have anxiety, it's not only helping when they are here at our praxis and they get a good shiatsu, when they are outside and maybe they have fear in a shopping place, or the drama comes back with backflashes and stuff, they need also skills for themselves in the daily life. So there will be something in that summit that we can have for the people, for our clients. Yeah, so I just wanted to know how you are dealing with the language.
Yeah. So would you like to vote for this? Do you use any kind of counseling or therapeutic dialogue with your Shiatsu clients? So let's see what we've got. We got 63% say yes very often, and 40%. So we've got like a big proportion say yes very often or sometimes, and only 5% say never. So there you go.
Yeah, so you see that Shiatsu changes. In older times, the Shiatsu was very silent often and people didn't talk. And in Switzerland, we have the complementary therapists. It's new and people maybe heard about. And there we saw that the communication before or during the Shiatsu gets very important. So, so the hypnotherapy or hypnosystemic is a possibility to accompany the people, and also with clean language, like Nick will tell you.
Yeah.
So you see that hope. I like these two from Havel about hope, because when we always talk about drama, it looks like there's no possibility to go out or to handle it. And Michael also said, we will learn and we will get tools for that, for the drama. And here are the goals, what we are doing. And I liked the translation from the flashbacks to messenger of needs, so that we the fear we get from the drama and the feelings we can translate, and with the translation we will feel better. And it's like having a dream. When we are dreaming something bad, everybody knows, our body reacts. We get for example, increased heart rate, sweating, the breath is going rapid. So in hypnotherapy, in combination with Shiatsu, we can change it and we can utilize this on reverse. So we imagine, when we imagine a place who feels safe and comforting, our nervous system, like the others already said, reacts. So we will get a calm heart rate and the breathe is deeper. So these all we will use in that combination, and we can work with other things like the body coordination, with also facial expressions, gaze and movement patterns, and with Shiatsu and acupuncture points, the meridians. So yeah, I think that's my part.
Fantastic.
In
It sounds
short
very,
version.
very, yes, it sounds very, very interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And your English was absolutely brilliant, by the way. You didn't have any worries. It was absolutely great. I think everyone agreed with that.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Nick, hi there.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, I'll try to keep this brief so we have some Q&A time left. But let's
Yeah.
just start quickly with another poll.
Okay.
Specifically about clean language. It's
Yeah. Do you ever use clean language in your Shiatsu sessions? You've got quite a few fans there of clean language.
That's
Look
cool.
at that.
That's good.
Only 3% have never heard of it, Nick. Nick, that's a victory.
Wonderful. Okay. So, yeah, my first point here is about one of the most fundamental things. If we're working with energy and you're working with trauma, the question is how much energy is this person's system putting into recreating and maintaining the trauma field, and how much energy is going into that other part of the vagus system which creates safety, and how much does that allow to create these resources which we've been talking about.
Yes.
And so that's what it's like when your client comes in at the beginning. As we start working with trauma, we're aiming something more like this. So more energy is going into creating the sense of safety, which allows there to be more movement into the sort of liver wood area of resources connecting with those possibilities. And that reduces the amount of energy that's going into trauma. I do find my clients find that a helpful way to think about it. So that's a lot of energy is going into the old trauma pattern. How can we change that so that more energy is going into new patterns, which you're trying to develop through Shiatsu and through, these kind of ways of working with language. So here's a picture I love because it kind of contains all the elements of trauma. And if you know anything about Buddhism, you can easily recognize what the situation is. But here we've got a client who's being assailed by traumatic things on all sides: the snake, the weapons, the fangs, the influence of torture in front. And as our client develops these resources, look at what happens. There's posture of absolute alignment, centeredness. You can see from the eyes there's calmness of the mind, calmness of the heart. That kind of patterned mat that he's sitting on kind of represents a sense of safety. And then if we use a little clean language, we start asking, and is there anything else about that? And it's amazing how creative people get. It's like, oh well, yes, my spine is like the trunk of a tree, and so on. And then as you go up the tree, you see these amazing leaves that are full of life. And further up, you see the positive energies, the non-physical beings, as Pauline Sasaki called them, the angels, who are there to help. That spiritual energy is always there to help. But of course, in trauma, we get very cut off from that. So just coming to the language, when I teach my online course about clean language, we start off not looking so much at clean language, but what I call body-friendly language. All of the things that we say as practitioners, say mindfulness teachers or Qigong teachers, all the things that we say are yoga teachers, to get people comfortably, safely into their bodies, so that the client, especially at trauma, the client feels they have some control, and they have as much comfort as they need to do what we say in mindfulness, to turn towards what is uncomfortable. You have to have some comfort. So this question, is it okay to stay with that uncomfortable feeling, is a very important one. and giving clear instructions so that a person, especially if trauma is beginning to bubble up, you can give clear instructions to cut through that traumatic energy, get them back into their body. And then coming on to clean language, what is clean? If you've probably, if you've heard about clean, the big question is, what does the word clean mean? And it means creating this very special space where the client is hearing their own words coming back to them. It's a very deep kind of listening, because essentially the client is listening to themselves. And because the questions are so simple and so carefully constructed, it's very hard for us as the facilitator, as the therapist, to bring our own stuff into the client's space. So what Michal was talking about, the importance of having the separation between our own stuff and the client stuff, is emphasized by the way we can use clean questions. And of course, that's so important in trauma, because traumas are infectious. Trauma jumps across boundaries. Trauma triggers stuff for ourselves. And then you get the creativity coming through. And clients do, as you know, clients do say all kinds of wonderful things. Like, it's like my spine is like a tree, and the branches are full of spiky leaves that keep the demons away. So our client, yes. And final slide here. This phenomenon that in psychology is now known as post-traumatic growth. Again, we've been talking about that already. But the kind of transformation that comes through trauma, it's important to remember that not all trauma survivors will experience a great deal of this post-traumatic transformation. And we're not trying to beat them up or make them feel like failures if they just come away with a few coping skills. That's sometimes magic just to have that. But, as we've heard, and as Michal was emphasizing, the qualities that research is beginning to show in people who experience post-traumatic growth are these, learning that the trauma had a meaning, that it put them on some kind of path, value in human relationships, developing more self-compassion, being mindful and appreciative of the little things in life, developing that sense of purpose, which of course gives you the energy to be creative and sometimes connect with more sense of spirituality in life. These are all aspects of post-traumatic growth. And then you come back to that sort of healthy cycle. There's a resilience, there's safety, there's the resources. As Michal said, the trauma is always there to remind you of that danger, not to get involved in it again. But that's essentially what we're doing and how clean language can help. So over to Mike.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So there we are. Look, here's Mike coming in to the final presenter. Thank you so much, Nick.
So I will jump forward with the slides because we are running out of time.
We are running out of time. We knew this was going to happen.
Yes, yeah. So I want to make it very short. I think everyone has experienced now that we choose different approaches to one topic. So what is my approach? As it is a Shiatsu summit, I represent more like the grounded body work. So my approach is just we are the body, and if there's just one takeaway message is how to make the kidneys warm. And I think this is very important, because if you work with trauma clients, you have many different levels. You can work on the level of the mind, and you can be very clear on the level of the mind. And I have many clients with like years of psychotherapy, and they say, okay, yes, I've dealt with my trauma, I'm finished with my trauma, but then it's still stored maybe in the body, and somehow later it pops up suddenly, and they said, okay, I'm finished, but yes, no, you're not really finished with it, because it's the body that stores most of our traumatic memory. So you can work with the level of the mind, you can work with the level of the emotions, but still at the end of the day, we should take care of the body too. And I think kidneys I think they are affected with every person, because if I jump back, this is the most basic principle of Eastern medicine. The mind influences the organs, and the organs influence the mind. You cannot separate both. So we can zoom in on every level. And my approach is that I work with the energy of the organs to have an effect on the psyche. And there is this very old model, I like it very much. It's the model of the three treasures, the Zambao. It's the model of Qing, Qi, and Shen. So the Qing is the physical plane. The Shen is the plane of consciousness or the mind. And in between the mind and the body, we have Qi as a bridge. And that's why all the Asian methods were so keen on working with the Qi, because if I touch the Qi, I have an influence on the mind and I have an influence on the body as well. But every level influences the other level. So my approach is we work with the Qing, we work with the body. And trauma, of course, you have to deal with fear, with anxiety, with a state of shock. And usually this leaves patterns of coldness in the body. And as Antigone had in their slides as well, we talk about a freeze condition. So the memories are frozen in our system. So if they are frozen, we have to melt something. So what can we melt? Hey, we can melt the kidneys. We have to make the kidneys warm. And it's very simple techniques, a very simple approach. But in my history working with trauma clients, there were two phases that were very interesting for me. We worked in a children's hospital for years. I think now we are in the children's hospital for more than 25 years, and we treat all the traumatized children. And with children, it's very difficult to work on the level of the mind, and also very difficult sometimes to work with language. They are too young and they are not able to express themselves. So we just work with the body. And then it was very interesting because we always got the feedback, if we do Shiatsu, they are much more open for all the other therapies.
Oh, right.
So we developed an approach. We are the body, which people can take. This is also very important. As Michael said, sometimes you can be too invasive, but you can choose an approach that even children can take very well and then open up. So this was one part of my history. And the other part, which was even more interesting, was we had a project where we worked with the refugees, and like refugees coming to Austria. And they had really strong stories, like the family killed in front of their eyes and the multiple rapes and stuff like that. You cannot imagine what the people had to endure. And but many of them, they were not able to speak English, so there was no communication possible.
Yes.
So we had to work together on the level of the body, and we had to look for approaches on the level of the body, and also be very sensitive, because the feedback was just via the body, not via the language. And so these were the two phases where I accumulated the experience I want to share at the summit. It's just we approached the topic of trauma via the body, with very, very simple hands-on techniques you can take home then afterwards. So that's it.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. I just want to say, what a fantastic group of people you've got together. I mean, many of them we know very well. Some of them are actually new energy work teachers, but all credit to you, Mike. You really have put a lot of work into this. And I'm sure it's already become a great success with the number of people signing up. And I just wanted to just take 1 minute to say that we have a treating stress and trauma course on new energy work that we spent a long time making. It's a big course, and it's got many modules. Many of them resonate with lots of the things you've been saying tonight. And we put a bonus module on, and we've got a special edition here. So all new energy work subscribers, if you go into your dashboard, you'll find this bonus module will start to grow as the Vienna summit occurs. So that's a really exciting thing for us. And we're going to extend that partnership to those of you who do enroll onto the Vienna summit. And this is the kind of thing we love doing in new energy work. We love getting people together. We love creating communications. We've been doing it for a very long time now, and it never fails to really inspire us. And look, this is a great opportunity. So if everyone can come back onto the screen, we can just give a last wave. And we haven't had any time for questions, unfortunately. I wonder if Antigone's around, or maybe she isn't. No, she isn't, I don't think. So anyway, I just want to say a massive thank you to all of you. I couldn't believe it when I put the email out and everyone could not only turn up for the event tonight, but they all turned up for the rehearsal. And that's the kind of jackpot that we don't often get on new energy work with presenters. And look at the result. We busted through our numbers. I had to upgrade the platform just to get everyone in. So thank you very much to all of you. Absolutely wonderful. And the summit sounds like it's to be an amazing success. So
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.